tell you a little bit about Adelphi Women's Lacrosse. Okay, this is a fairly successful program where we have won 8 national championships and we have won a number of conference championships, been honored with a number of All-Americans, Players of the Year, things of that nature. Okay, that stuff is all great, but it's kind of why we do it, but it's not the overall reason why we do it. The reason we do this is to provide a complete student-athlete academic part of this is very important in that our kids end up with degrees that take them somewhere, okay? We're not looking for kids to get through 4 years, get a piece of paper, and then come into our office and say, what do I do now? That's not what college is about. So if you're going to school to be a lacrosse player, and you're gonna finish 4 years and go home to mom and dad and say, okay, great, it was really a lot of fun, but I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Somebody missed something. Somebody did you a disservice. Okay, you need to leave ready to get on with the rest of your life. Having just had the best 4 years of your life, but being on your way to even greater times. Okay, being a successful person, being a productive member of society, being responsible, being somebody that people want to hire, being somebody that people want to, be in a relationship with, and being somebody that people want to live next door to. Okay, that's all part of the growth process. Which brings us to the social aspect of it. You need to have a good time in college. Okay, it's really the first time in your life you're not going to have mom and dad hanging over you saying, do this, do that. You're going to have to make decisions on your own. Okay, you're going to have to decide when to eat, what to eat, when to go to bed, when to wake up. If you don't feel like going to class, you're not going to be in college very long. Okay, so if you have too good a time, it's going to be a short-lived experience. All right, but you need to enjoy the experience. Right? That's what we try to do here. We try to balance all 3 of the aspects I just described to you: the academic, the athletic, and the social experience. If any one of them is too heavily weighed, something's going to be wrong. If it's too heavy in the academic, you're going to stress out, you're going to be pulling your hair out, saying, what am I doing? Not going to feel good about it. If it's too much in the athletic, you're not going to get ready for the rest of your life. And if it's too much in the social aspect, you might be home by Christmas. All right? That's not what mom and dad want. Okay, so you have to find a place that balances all 3 of those pieces for you. We find people come here, they're happy, they work hard, they're productive, and then they leave, and they're nurses, teachers, they are speech pathologists, they are accountants. They walk out the door and they're on their way to something. They're not on their way looking and wondering what's next. It's not perfect. Okay, but I would tell you, probably about 90% of our kids are ready to go upon graduation. Whether it means they're going towards a master's program, or they've got a job lined up through internships, through student teaching, whatever it is, the next step is waiting for them. They're not searching for it. And that's something you have to think about, okay? Because lacrosse is great. It's been great to me, it's been great to Frankie, it's been great to a lot of people in this room. But if that's all it's about, you're gonna be struggling someday wondering, where do I go now? Where do I go from here and what do I do? Who am I? If your sole identity is who you are on a lacrosse field, something's gonna be empty, okay? So you have to find something that fits for you. You have to find the right place, okay? What do we do here? Okay, Division II Women's Lacrosse. What's our schedule like? Anyone wondering that? Okay, in the fall, we practice 3 days a week. Tuesday and Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings. Okay, we practice Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. We lift 3 times a week in the fall? 3 times a week, see, I don't know. Okay, I don't know a lot. Okay, that's why she's here. We lift 3 days a week, we practice 3 days a week. Okay, we go 24 days of practice in a 45-day period. And then we're done, usually around Halloween. So we usually let the girls get into their class schedule a week to 10 days into school when they arrive. We'll have a meeting and get them together, but we don't practice for a week to 10 days. We get to that, we get started, and we run through about Halloween. We'll play 2 or 3 events in the fall where we try to compete against normally Division I teams. So we'll go up to Syracuse and we'll play Syracuse, Cornell, Colgate, Binghamton, Siena, Albany, schools like that. We want to compete against the best teams we can possibly find because they won't play us in the spring. Okay? It doesn't serve them well to go against us and potentially lose a game to a Division II team. So we try to find the best competition we possibly can. All right, and then we do a couple other events depending on the year if it changes. Okay, we generally, since I've been here, we go up there every year. Get to the Halloween time, right? We run that from then till about, we go home for Christmas and we do individual workouts. We're still in the weight room, okay? And we go through all that. So we'll be lifting and then we'll do small group instruction, skill development, anything we can do to help our kids improve. So they'll get out there, 2 or 3 days a week, and we'll just do, whether it's stick work, shooting, footwork, conditioning, things of that nature. All the while, we have our strength and conditioning coach working with our kids, okay? Addressing where are their weaknesses, what kind of progress have they made. We chart it from the beginning to the end. We'll chart it from the beginning of their career here till the end. Who here lifts weights? Okay? Most people, when you go to college, you're going to be lifting weights. You're going to be in a weight room. I'm not saying you should be working out now, but that's part of the program. Okay? All our kids do it. Every sport here does it. And it's important, not just to get strong, but for injury prevention, for physical fitness, and for strength as the game goes on. One of the areas we find we're best is we outlast people. So we work very hard in practice, and we think we're strong. We're getting slow starts this year, but we keep going, and we finish the game strong. And we attribute a lot of that to the way we work in practice and to our work in the weight room. Okay, that stuff's very important. So we go through the individual stuff. We try to address our weaknesses and get better. We go home for Christmas. Okay, they get a packet that is running packet, lifting packet, things they're supposed to do on their own. We get back to school. We start a week before school does, and we go 2-a-days. So we'll go 8 in the morning, and then we'll go about 3 in the afternoon, or 2 in the afternoon. And we go 2 hours each time. Try to break up the work, where the first session is, maybe conditioning and that kind of work, and then the second part is skill work, stick work, game situation stuff. And we do that for probably 6 days, and then we give them off the first day of school. That's their day of rest, get into the class, get going, and then on that second day of school, we're in gear, we're ready to go. All right? 2 or 3 scrimmages maybe before we get into our game schedule, which is usually anywhere from the 2nd to 3rd week of February, and then it's on. We start our season for the last 5 years with a trip to Florida. We go down there, we play two games in about 6 days, okay? Get there, practice the next day, game, day off, maybe another day, game. We try to play that last game on a noon start if we can, have the rest of that day afterwards, and fly out the following day late in the evening to give the girls the entire day off and to enjoy Florida and the warm weather, which we know we're not coming back to. Okay, so we try to balance the trip with some fun, with some really good games. This year we played the number 3 and the number 10 team in the country there to start the season. A lot of people wouldn't do that. What are we risking? We want to go out, you want to be the best, you got to play the best, so that's what we do. Okay, our first 3 games of the year were 3, 10, and 7 in the rankings. Okay? A lot of people want to ease into the season. What's the point? All right, we went out and found good games and we were successful. Okay, so run that trip to Florida, enjoy it, do some fun stuff. We've done an escape room there, we've gone to Gatorland, we've done the parks. We're always trying to find different things that the girls enjoy, and sometimes it's just spending that last day around the pool. We're to the point now where we allow them to make that decision. What do you want to do? First year we spent thousands of dollars on tickets to the parks. They all went, but they would have rather been laying around the pool. So we said, what do you want to do? Following year, 3 girls went to the parks. Everybody else sat by the pool. Okay, so we saved a lot of money for the program, which we're able to spend in other areas after that. That's an empowerment that we believe in here. We believe in open communication with our kids so that we know what they want, we know how we're doing, and we know, what direction we should be going in. All right, so we run through the season. We get back, our schedule is largely in the Northeast. We go anywhere from Vermont, New Hampshire, Syracuse, Connecticut. We're all over the Northeast. The conference is called the Northeast 10, and the furthest trip is St. Michael's, which is in Colchester, Vermont. Then you also have Rindge, New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire. It's a lot of time on buses. Girls like buses? Get used to it, right? That's the time to get some work done. That's the time to, communicate with some friends, pay attention to what's going on in social media and stuff like that. But it's also time for teams to get close. You're stuck on a bus, you can't get away. Okay, so that's the time to either become closer or get on each other's nerves. It's kind of a test of a team and what they're made of and how they care about each other. So we enjoy the trips as best we can, and we spend a lot of time on buses. So that's what that is. And we get through, depending on how the season goes, Northeast 10 tournament, and then on how that goes, NCAA tournament, and then on how that goes, you're happy or you're not, okay? It's not all determined by whether you win championships or not. Sometimes you do your best job and you feel the best about what you're doing just because you maximize the potential of the group and you got the most out of what you had, all right? But we're in an environment here where anything short of a championship in many people's eyes is failure, and that's really hard. That's a tough thing to deal with. We struggle with that every day. Are we good or are we good enough? We win a game 16-4 and we're sitting watching the film saying, we weren't good that day. We need to be better. And then we can win a game 13-10 and feel really good about what we did. All right, it's the ability or the accountability where you can look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And that's what we try to do here, be honest with ourselves, with each other, and with our team so that we can be the best we can possibly be. Okay? So we go through the season and then it rolls out wherever it rolls out. And some years we're really happy with it, and some years we're disappointed, and it's kind of a tough struggle. But that's what it is here. Who wants to play in college? Who wants to play Division I lacrosse in college? Who wants to play Division II lacrosse in college? Who wants to play Division III lacrosse in college? Okay, I don't know any of you, but those of you who are in D1 or bust, you're going to be terribly disappointed. Okay? And you're operating with a closed mind. That's the disappointing thing. Okay? Open your eyes to what's out there and understand what it all means. Okay? I played Division I lacrosse in college, played pretty competitively, and I don't know that I'd want to do it today. Okay? Not because I don't love the game, it's different. Okay? It is different. Every level has different ideology, every level has different expectations, every level has a different workload, okay? And every level has different priorities, okay? Priorities being, in most cases, lacrosse. We played Division I teams in the fall, and we beat them by 12 to 15 goals, okay? Little old us here. And they work 10 times harder than we do. They get up at 5 a.m. to lift. They have practice at 7. They have study hall at 7 o'clock at night. They have to go to team meals. If they don't go to training table, they got problems. They practice so hard and so long, and they're gonna go 4-12. Is that what you want? Anyone? Anyone? Big stuff. Okay? Or you go to the University of Maryland. Good for you. You're going to work just like that. You're going to win championships. You playing? You on the field? Look in the mirror. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. You're going to go through 4 years, you're going to have a successful team, you're never going to play. That good enough for you? No. Picture getting clearer? Okay? Now, I'm not knocking anyone down. Ambition is terrific. Okay? But you need to be self-aware and you need to think about the big picture. Okay? take a look around. Okay? Take a look around. Ask the questions. Get the information. All right? There's a lot of opportunity out there. Every one of you can play in college. There is a place for you. Okay? There is a place for you. And I've never seen any of you play. There is a place for you though. Because the game is growing exponentially. There are a ton of programs out there. Okay? But there are a ton of programs out there with a 30-year-old coach who just got our opportunity, and she's going to whip you like crazy so she can get the next job. You know what that means? You know what a stepping stone is? Right? There are people out there, they're coaching for the next job. If they can take a team that's 2-15 and make them 6-12, they're going to get the next job. And they're upward mobile, right? They're on their way. And the coach that you love, which is why you went there, in year 2, she's going to be somewhere else. Is that what you're looking for? Nobody is. Nobody is. Hell, there are people here hoping I'm gone next year. Right? Too bad. I'm not going anywhere. Okay? This isn't about Adelphi. This is about college lacrosse and the sport in general. Before Frankie got here, she was at Stony Brook as a coach. She was at Bucknell as a coach. Okay? Girls at Bucknell loved her. Yeah. Next opportunity. Okay? So what are you looking for? You're looking for a place where you can be ready for the rest of your life, and you're looking for a school that you love, a place that you love, where if the sport was taken away from you, for whatever reason, you still want to be there. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about how far you want to go? How far from home? How far from mom and dad? You want to go 2 hours? You want to go 5 hours? You want to go to the West Coast? Huh? Thought about how cold you want it to be? You like the snow? You want to go where it's warm? Right? There's so many things to consider. Okay? So I'm telling you now, in the year 2019, if it's Division I or bust, you're selling yourself short. There are some tremendous opportunities at Division I, Division II, and Division III levels. Great opportunities athletically, socially, and academically. Don't sell yourself short. There might be a place out there that has a good lacrosse team, but has the perfect academic program for you. And you're going to be on top of the world 4, 5, 6 years later because you went to that school. Okay? Are we clearer or are we more confused? If you leave here more confused, then we helped you. I'm serious when I say that, because you need to think about a lot more than you young people are probably thinking about. Mom and dad have thought about it. They don't know how far you're capable of going away from home. They don't know what level you can play at. All right? Other people are going to determine that. All right? But you have to be self-aware. Okay? You have to be self-aware as a young person, and it's not easy to do. Give very careful consideration to what you want, who you are, and where you want to go. You are important. Okay? When you look in the mirror, you should be really happy with the person looking back at you. Be confident, feel good about yourself, right? All those things. And if you equate it strictly to your lacrosse ability or career or whatever it is, you're underselling yourself. There's a lot more to you. There's a lot more to you. Okay? So think about the whole picture and how the game can serve you so you can give back to it. Okay? Jerry and I played together probably 35 years ago. Right? When was the last time I saw you?
About that time.
You reached out for me. Hey, how you doing? Right away. We don't forget. The game will be He's so good to you in so many ways. The relationships, the places you'll see, the people you'll meet, the experiences you'll have. Okay? Don't equate it to how many goals you scored. I couldn't tell you how many goals he scored. Don't remember one. But I remember him because he was a friend. And a friend you make through the game will in all likelihood be a friend forever. Okay? Don't undervalue that and don't undervalue yourself. Okay? I could do this all day. But that's not what you came here for. Tell me what you want to know, and hopefully we'll have the answer. Good, let's go. The simplest of questions. If you're thinking of it, someone else probably has it on their mind. Don't be shy. Usually takes one person to get it started. So Jerry, go ahead. Yes.
I really appreciate the question, but I was thinking it, so I'm going to ask it. You are exclusively with the girls program?
Yeah, I don't get
I
involved
want
in
to
boys
get my son
program.
here, too. I want to get my son here to hear this lecture.
No, I used to actually coach here with the men's team before, but we don't have time for anything else. You know, but we have good relationships with the men's program. So
Somebody else can give this talk?
Yes.
What's your recruiting process?
Recruiting process, great question. Okay, we start the recruiting process with those that are interested in the school. So those who communicate with us, send us an email, send us film, send us something through the online questionnaire. We put that all into a database, okay? When you do that, you say, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, this is my team, these are our colors, this is the number I wear, this is the year I'm in, and this is where I'm going to be at these particular events. Or even better, here's my schedule. Okay? We take that, we put it all in a database, and then we go to events and we look at all those players. Okay? So we have a staff here of 3, in addition to Frank and I, it's Jen Graham, who's our assistant. And then from time to time we'll have graduate assistants. So we may all 4 of us go to an event and I'll take 10, they'll take 10, we go through it, and we all watch kids and we rate them. And we sit down, we go through it. Maybe if I watch 10 and I like 3 of them, I'll say I like these 3. Frank, you go watch the 3 that I like. I'll go watch the 3 that she liked. And we'll share our opinions, we'll go through it, and then we whittle it down. We don't just go and watch games and hope to find a great kid. But we may get contacted by you, go watch you, and see you and say, hey, that's somebody who we'd like to talk to. So you may get contact from us because we went to watch someone and you looked really good, and we'll take a flyer on it. It doesn't cost us anything to send an email, right? So we just take a shot, say, hey, we saw you play, really, like your style, what you fit in good with our system. If you're interested, let us know. Sometimes we hear back and things are great. Sometimes it's crickets and nothing. Can't get it. But we start with the people who reach for us. Okay, that's our general pool to begin with. And then we go from there. We have a lot of alums that are high school coaches and club coaches, and they reach out to us. We have great relationships with certain schools and certain programs, and we know if they suggest someone to us, that they're sending us a kid who can play. So that's another part of it as well. Yes?
Are there scholarships available?
Are there scholarships available? Yes. Okay, we have the equivalent of about 10 scholarships. Okay, every program is different. So you might have a school in our conference that gives 0 athletic scholarship, okay? But they give generous academic aid. At Adelphi, we have generous academic packages, okay? So ladies, hear this clearly. If you want to help your family, hit the books. There's more money in academics than there is in athletics, okay? And your neighbor who got a full ride to Duke is lying to you. Got it? If you're a goalie and your lights out and you're amazing, you got a shot. Okay? But if you're a midi who had 16 goals her senior year and she's good between the lines and she got a full ride to Maryland, nose is growing. Okay? We package our kids here. So we might bring a kid in who gets $16,000 on the academic side, and we'll give her another 12 or 16, depending on where she falls in our charts, and that's how we'll work it out. Okay, but we package everybody, and I would tell you that most schools will do that. Okay, most will do that. Yes?
Do you only go to travel team games, or do you go to like high school games?
We go to high school games. I got kids in high school. I gotta go to high school. No, we go to high school games. We'll go more often. We'll go to see kids that we have committed already. So we went to watch 2 of our kids on, was it Wednesday? All right, we went Wednesday to watch 2 kids that are committed play against each other, which was really fun because their moms are in the stand and their dads, and they're going against each other, but they're sitting together and they're friends and they're ready for next year. But then you will see, the same as on the club side, you will see a kid you're there to watch, and you'll see another kid and say, oh, what's that kid doing? So even though we may go to a high school game more often to see a kid that we already have in the fold, we'll see other kids. Or we'll get reached out to by a high school coach who says, I've got a kid here and she's not committed yet, and time is of the essence. Can you come watch her play? Because I really think she'd help you. And we'll go to a high school game on that basis. Yes. Yes?
How important is body language on players when you're there watching them play, and how can that determine whether you take them or not?
Oh, it can be a huge determining factor. You know, the things that we look at, aside from whether you can play the game, how do you take coaching? Okay? Do you look a coach in the eyes? Things doesn't go your way on the field, you bang your stick on the ground, you drag it around. Are you after, you know? There's a difference between being demanding of your teammates and being demeaning of your teammates. There's a difference, and we can tell. Okay, we can see that. We want to see kids fail because we want to see how you handle it. Now, John Danowski did a really great thing, you probably saw it online, where according to him, every kid that ever wanted to get recruited to Duke is the greatest player in the world. They never have a shot saved. They never miss anything. They make every ground ball. No goalie has ever been scored on in their highlight film. Okay? We want to see failure. We need to see failure. But we fail out there. Okay? And how we handle that failure will determine if we can succeed. So that's a big part of it. Absolutely right. There's other things you pay attention to on that. How do you handle a conversation when we meet with you? Are you respectful of your parents? When we sit down to talk, we bring you in on a recruiting visit. Are you respectful of your parents? Because if you don't respect your parents, you don't respect me. You don't respect her. What can we expect of you if you're not respectful of your parents? Right? Parents, if you're insane, we don't want you here. Okay? Because everybody's perfect. Okay? But everyone's on their best behavior, and then we get here and we got 20 coaches in the crowd communicating louder than we are, saying things we don't want them to do. So we're all in that situation. Enjoy it would be my advice to parents. Enjoy it. Well, I was up at Syracuse for my daughter when she was there, and all the parents spoke in a meeting, and everybody had something to say about what they wanted for the season, for their kids and for the team. And my suggestion was, pick a kid that's not your own and cheer for her like crazy all year. If everybody picks someone else's kid and isn't worried about their own, think about what it would sound like. Think about the feel in that crowd. And then she transferred.
We've actually sat at games, whether it be travel or high school, and been by a parent that we've actually gotten their kid off the list due to a parent who was whatever it was on the sideline at a high school game or a club game in the summer where you're playing just to be as a showcase, and your parent is in our ear, and that's what we hear because they're sitting by us and they think, let me go stand by the college coaches and talk and communicate. And they've actually ruined opportunities for their children. So that is something on the parent level to definitely be aware of.
My advice to parents, enjoy it. The high school and club years are fairly brief, and the college years go like that. We've got kids that are juniors and seniors that just got here. Just enjoy it. Don't stress about it. Yes?
At what age should they contact, or what grade should they contact the
school with an email?
I would say the 9th grade, for the 9th grade summer. Yeah, I would say going, the 9th grade for that summer, because you can't communicate. They're gonna change the rule. It's September now, but they're gonna move it to June probably of going into your junior year. So you get a good period of time there to get evaluated. But you can also go to, prospect days and things at particular schools if you're interested and get on their radar earlier. It costs like, in some cases, $75 to go and have a day. And do you like the coach? Do you like the plays? Do you like the players? And that could kind of help you with that ahead of time. Yes?
Is there a lot of conflict with the girls that have clinicals or internships with the practicing game traveling schedule?
Yes, there is. And it's generally as you move through, so junior and senior year. So we don't discourage any of our athletes from following any program of study. And we have got as large a group of nurses as we've ever had. And we're starting to see it become an issue. We had one young lady miss a trip where we played 2 games because she had clinicals and she couldn't miss it. We had another girl who's in an engineering program, and she was stressed out about missing class during the trip to Florida, so she stayed home. She stayed home. I had a starter miss my first year in an important game because it was March, but if she didn't do her clinicals then, she would have had to do it in May. And that's playoff run. So we said, all right, we'll figure it out without you. So, student teaching is not a problem for games, but it can be a problem for practice. So we've had important players. I always use Jackie Jahelka as the example. For those of you who don't know, she's one of the leading scorers we've ever had here. She missed between 2 and 3 days a week of practice her senior year because she was doing a special student teaching program that kept her, out of practice time. So we had to do our offense on the days she was there and everything else on the days she wasn't. But it's a conflict, and there are places you'll consider. People always use BC as the example. Hey, who wants to go to BC? Go ahead, tell me. Okay. Raise your hands, all right? They're great. Everyone wants to go there. Okay? They won't let you be a nurse and play lacrosse. How does that serve you well? You want to be a nurse. If it's your passion to be a nurse, if you want to be a nurse, you want to play lacrosse in college, and BC wants you, you're going to go play 4 years of lacrosse, and then come out of school and say, okay, now I got to figure out how to be a nurse. You might want to do that. Okay? But there's probably a better option for you that will allow you to do it all at the same time and have a complete experience. Yes?
What do they do on the off season to stay ready for the Orange Week?
We call it or else. Be ready or else. No, we lift.
Is there another sport that they play that complements lacrosse?
There's a lot of sport. Basketball's great. We want kids that our best players are multi-sport athletes. Not here. We can't do it here. We haven't had a kid who's a multi-sport athlete for a while. But our sports information director was a softball and volleyball player here. It was great. But it's becoming more and more difficult. We have a great player on our team that actually got invited to play volleyball here. She just didn't want to. I don't know how thrilled I would have been with that. But it was one of those things. If she really wanted to, we would have probably figured it out. But by the time you get to college, you're probably specialized by then. But if somebody tells you in 10th grade, hey, stop playing basketball because you got to specialize in lacrosse, I don't even follow that advice. Play basketball, play soccer, play volleyball, do different things, because all of those things will help you be a more well-rounded athlete, and that's going to be good for you. But when you're here, we've got enough in line for them that they're ready again or else. And we know when we get back in January who did the work pretty quickly. Yes?
I have 2 questions. My first one is, for being on a lacrosse team, is it mandatory to have protein drinks or protein meals? And my second one is, do you know if there's a bananas program in the college?
I think so.
But there
don't
is.
have a veterinary program.
There is at other schools for sure.
Yeah, you can definitely pursue that. Do we require you to drink protein drinks and things of that nature? No. But what we do have, which is a rarity in Division II, is we have what's called a refueling station. So after our kids go to the weight room, they lift, they go through their program, and they're on their way to class, there's a refueling station where they can get a protein drink or a bar or a piece of fruit or something like that. And that's just all part of it. It's funded through one of our donors, and he's provided all the money for that, and it's a great opportunity where kids usually be scrambling to get to a dining hall or something now. Varsity athletes have the refueling station, they grab what they need, and then they get to class. That's really, I would tell you, that's a Division I thing that we have here that we're very proud of. Yes?
Megan, from the academic side, are you looking at, what are you looking at? The core subjects, overall grade, how much do the ACTs versus the SATs play a factor in that? Are you looking at the big picture or something specific within the academic core subjects?
We're looking big picture. You want to cover that?
Yeah, I mean, big picture, it's us, and then it's obviously admission side of campus. So there's not so much that the SAT or ACT weighs one more than the other. Our biggest piece of advice regarding the standardized test that, or the ACT and SAT that we could give is to try both. When someone comes into us and says they've just focused on the SAT, we say, well, why don't you give the ACT a chance? They're two very different tests, and students test differently with both of those. So give one a shot, at least here, and then they weigh out differently on the academic scale. And that's usually for a lot of schools. So you can maybe get a lower score on the SAT that converts to a higher score on the ACT, depending on how that admissions program does it at that school. So it's definitely good to take both and try both. Again, just because you don't know. Each test is definitely designed differently, course-wise. One is based on time. And then the other side of that is your GPA counts, pretty big as well. And that usually all groups together. So course rigor, as in the difficulty of the course level that you take, also gets accounted into that. And that's, the most part for every school that you're at. But like Pat said before, focusing on your grades is a big part of it. That is something you have full control over. For us here, it really, your GPA kind of stops after your junior year. Counting. Your SAT or ACT you can take up until you come here in order to, do better for yourself academically when it comes to scholarship wise. But your GPA, you have to do the best you possibly can until you enter your senior year, because a lot of schools, GPA kind of, I don't want to say doesn't matter, kind of forget that. You really have to continue to do well in school, but it stops counting once you get to your senior year. So, if you fall off your junior year, you fall off your sophomore year, it's going to be really hard to get back up, because again, that senior year is not going to count as much toward it. So again, the biggest piece of advice, take both the SAT and ACT. Even if you go in blind the first time, just see what you get. Then again, we say it all the time, focus on an SAT tutor, focus on an ACT tutor, rather than focusing on the individual lesson for lacrosse. Maybe take a week off from the personal trainer for lacrosse and put the time in for your SAT and ACT tutor. That is where it's going to pay back for you.
And we go through that all the time with people, but the work you do in the classroom, so it goes 3 different aspects. They'll evaluate you based on your GPA, your class rank, and your standardized test score. And they'll have a point value, and that's how they determine your academic award. And we don't get a read from the other side of campus until your transcripts at the end of your junior year. So we can't even tell you, okay, we could look at it and say, we think it's going to be roughly this much, and we won't do that with you until we get a read from the other side of campus, and that's not even official, that's just a ballpark figure. Anyone else? By the way, we have between a 3.4 and 3.6 GPA as a team. Okay, so we don't expect you just to come here and do a cross player. Our kids do well in school. Yes.
What major academic subjects that are offered for kids to pursue?
There's everything, but our team, I will tell you, we've got nurses, we've got people pursuing education, speech communications is big within our program.
Business.
What's that?
Business.
A lot of business. We've got some accounting majors, finance, marketing, things of that nature. It's all, the way I explain it, it's all career driven. It's not just to get a degree. Most of what our kids do is career driven. There's a finish line that gets you employed, which is the thing we're most pleased with. We just had, I'm sorry. Well, we just had this week what we call mentoring night. So juniors and seniors in the athletic department are required to come into this room and meet with alumni who are in different fields of work. Okay, so we had people in education, we had graphic designers, we had people who have graduated here as athletes and had, gone on to be employed and get going, and now you have to show up if you're a junior or senior and interact with those people and ask the questions. Similar to what we're doing here, they're asking the questions. How'd you get your first job? How do you like it? How's it going? What can I do to help myself? And then that's a whole networking thing that we do. We do resume writing workshops. They do different things with developing interview skills, all things that are promoted within the athletic department for student athletes, so they're ready once the time comes. Yes?
Does the team live on campus, or is it more commuters? Are most of the people from Long Island or out of state? Or
5 commuters now?
Yeah, we have about 5 commuters. We have 2 off-campus houses, and then most of our freshmen and sophomores live on campus. So it's a good split. But we have girls, and it's something great about Adelphi is that we have players on the team who, again, you go back to Jackie Jahelka. She lived in Garden City. When she moved off campus, her house where her parents live was actually closer than her off-campus housing. But it's the part of being so close that you get to choose your home away from home. As much as she wants to go home, she can go home. And as much as she wanted to, stay on campus, she could. So freshman and sophomore year, we encourage the girls to stay on campus. It's just easier. And then junior and senior year, they usually live off campus. Sometimes by the time, when you have a senior on the team who's, again, focused on student teaching or nursing and they're doing clinicals, sometimes they'll just move home because they're kind of, outside of the, social life a little bit more, and they're just kind of trying to focus on graduating. So it's just easier for them to live home and commute from there. But it's a good mix. But again, a lot of the girls do live on campus, at least to start.
And most of the team is local, like from Long Island, or are they from the local?
We have 2 girls right now that aren't from Long Island. So there always is, a few girls here and there, but just the way it is, not for any reason in particular, but we do have mainly girls from Long Island here.
Do the players on the team, do they dorm together? Do you have arrangements so that if they're freshmen coming in, that you like to see them together, or is that?
We don't force them to do anything like that. There have been kids in the past who've had a friend or somebody, that they knew and they moved with them. But generally what happens is when a class gets committed and they, these days everyone communicates with each other. They'll all have some type of interaction. They'll come to prospect days that we do together. They'll come on their official visit together, and then they'll do their best to say, hey, I want to live with you, I want to live with this, and they'll put 2 here, 3 here. So they do that on their own. We don't really get involved in that. We don't get it, we try not to get involved in those decisions and the things that they do. There are other sports that do, but we want them to figure it out. And there's people who they love each other and they room together their freshman year and it doesn't work. And next year they're looking for someone else because they were great communicating via text message, but when they had to live together, it wasn't good for them. That happens. It's all part of growing and learning and understanding and building those relationships. They're still teammates, they're still friends, they just don't want to live together. Yes?
If you don't play upper level as an underclassman, does that affect you at all going into college?
Meaning upper level?
Like if you're a freshman or a sophomore and you play on JV instead of varsity, does that affect anything?
The biggest thing is that you become the best player you can be. Okay, so you could be on the varsity in 9th grade and not play. And sure, you go to practice every day, and that's great. But what would be more important than that, or playing on the JV, being an important player, developing your confidence, being a leader, being somebody that the other kids look to, right? To me, that's more important. Just playing. Young people here, don't give that too much thought. Okay, the example everyone's using now is, do you know who Pat Spencer is? Some of the dads would probably know, right? He's probably going to win the Tourathon Award this year as the best player in college lacrosse. He's at Loyola, and he didn't play varsity in 10th grade. Okay, he was on the JV in 10th grade. He's the best player in college lacrosse right now. Okay, look him up when you get home. Everyone talks about that story. Now he might be an aberration, but the truth of it is, just play. You don't know when it's going to click for you. Okay, we've seen kids who were okay in 8th grade, okay in 9th grade. I mean, kids that I know, kids that I've coached, who was my own kids. And then all of a sudden, you see them in 10th or 11th grade, and a switch goes off. You don't know when it's gonna happen, okay? Mom and dad can't say when it happens. That's gonna be dictated by Mother Nature. She's gonna something's gonna click inside of you, you're gonna mature, you're gonna develop, all of a sudden you're gonna decide you love it. That's not for anyone else to decide. And if a coach tells you in 9th grade or even 10th grade, hey, you're on JV, you know what you do? You go work and you play and you prove them wrong. You don't pout, you don't tell them they're wrong, you prove it with your play each and every day, okay? There's a guy named Scott Van Pelt on ESPN, and he said something great the other day. Parents today are trying to prepare the path for their child when you should be preparing your child for the path. Okay? And I'm not knocking anybody, don't take that the wrong way. But we've got to let them struggle. You've got to struggle to become who you're going to be. You've got to be told no. You've got to be told you're not good enough. You've got to be praised when you are good enough. But you got to be told the truth. And if you're at a school that's great, and you're not on the varsity in 10th grade, is that really a knock? As opposed to someone who goes to a school that's not very good, and they're on the varsity in 9th grade. I have this debate all the time with people. Those circumstances are not determined by you. So you just have to live with them and do the best you can. Yes?
Do you guys have a tutoring program through the athletic department?
We don't have one through the athletic department. We have what's called the Learning Center. And in the Learning Center, we encourage our kids to go, whether they're struggling or not. They will help you. If you've got a paper to submit, they'll sit down with you and they will basically go through the paper with you, help you edit it, do things like that. If you're struggling in a subject, they will sit you down with somebody who is a student who has excelled in the subject and moved on already, and they will tutor you that way and provide you with assistance. But we get what's called early warnings that we get, how many times a semester you figure?
3 or 4, depending.
3 or 4, hopefully we don't get many, but if a kid misses a class, misses an assignment, does poorly on an exam, doesn't participate, any of those things, it comes in a report to the athletic department that comes to us. And then we bring the kids in and say, what's going on here? It says you missed 3 assignments. Well, we were on the road, I missed 2 classes, so I missed 2 assignments, but I handed them in when we got back, and then you double check it, and okay, she's telling the truth. Or, I can't get it, I don't get that class, I can't do it, it's not for me, I don't understand it, I have to drop it. Or there's always some explanation. We very rarely had an explanation that we were really annoyed with. It's usually, okay, we get it. Or we get brought into into the situation very early. Yes?
How many girls make the team?
How many girls make the team? So every year is different. Some years, my first year, I think we had 31 or 32. Last year, we were short last year, right?
We were at 29.
29?
28.
Yeah, but it's usually around the 30 number. It's usually what it is. I mean, that includes 4 or 5 walk-ons.
Right now, 5.
That includes 5 walk-ons. Okay? So we try to keep the roster around 30. It allows us to practice well. It allows us to do the things we want to do, get up and down the field. If your group is much smaller than that, when you consider, like Mondays, we have 18 kids at practice.
Sometimes.
Mondays we have like 18 kids at practice because they have class. So Mondays is a tough day for us. We've actually considered practicing either in the morning on Mondays, very early, or practicing on Sundays and taking Monday off. Because Monday is a day that class conflicts with practice so much.
Just going off of that, that's a good question. When you go, a lot of these questions are good when you go on, to visit different schools. That's a good question to be followed by if you travel your whole team. So we like to stay at that number because there's nothing we do where we leave anybody behind. Unless, of course, they have class or something like that and they need to stay behind. But we travel right now we have 28, and we're going to always keep it at a number where we don't have to leave anyone behind based on our budget. So when we go to Florida, we bring everybody. We don't have a travel roster. Because again, we practice every day as a team, and we both agree that it wouldn't be right to have you have practice every day and then tell you couldn't be a part, because that's a big part of what we do here. We travel well, we eat well, We go to nice restaurants, again, and we try to keep it at a number where we can do that. And if we went anywhere above that, we wouldn't be able to. And again, that's a good question to have when you go to these, schools and you sit down with coaches on whether or not they do that. Because then once you get there, you work every day, and then, well, am I still fighting for a spot on that travel team?
Am I getting on the bus? That's the question.
Sorry, you had that
That was
question.
my question.
Okay.
How many girls?
Sorry. How do the walk-ons work? Is it an invitation process, or do you have a tryout and say, I have 5 spots, and how many girls would try out for it?
Well, it depends year to year. It's always different. So we have kids that reach out for us prior, and we may look at them and say, hey, listen, we're going to give you a preferred walk-on spot. We don't have a scholarship for you. But they're coming here, and they're excited about being on campus, and they want to be a part of it, and we evaluate them. There are other kids who may come knocking on the door, a week into the fall semester and say, hey, I'd like to try out. We've got Nina on that basis right now. She just came to us one day, and there's rules that you follow, that you have a certain period of time that they can kind of audition. And we had her out with us, and we said, you know what, she can do it. She can do it. We've got a couple kids who we knew a little bit beforehand. We got one who didn't know anything about her at all, but she seemed like a really good kid. It was my first year, and I said, sure, give you a shot. And they do everything we do. Playing time's tough, but they do everything. They work really hard, and they're expected to. Yeah. Does every player on the team get an equal amount of playing time? No. We're doing this kind of to win, and unfortunately, everybody's not at the same level, and everybody doesn't have the same skill set. So we have, I would say we play 14 to 15 kids a game. We have games, we have stretches where those 14 or 15 players, we play 4 middies. Okay, 4 middies play, generally 4 defenders play. We'll play 5 to 6 attackers, depending. Maybe we'll run a couple people through the box defensively and add a couple to the rest of the middies. But if you look at any team in Division 1 or 2 or through, across that's competing, they don't play a lot of people. They don't, because they leave people on the field. We leave people on the field. We're fortunate in that we have games that we win fairly convincingly, where we're able to reward that next group of players with playing time in game situations, but there's no guarantee of that, no. Yes?
For the goalies, say there's like 2 goalies. If they're both like equally good, do you like alternate them or just play one?
Well, there's an old expression, if you have 2 goalies or 2 quarterbacks, you have no goalie or no quarterback. Okay? That's the way you look at it. So you might arrive at a point where you've got 2 and you're going to play them equally to figure out who's the one. But I think, and this is her job, okay, so I'll let her finish this thought for me. I believe at some point you have to arrive at the person, but what do you think?
Again, there's schools that definitely do it that way, but we both kind of share that same philosophy. So for us, obviously, it's always nice to have someone there to push, to be the backup. But again, when we have someone, it's better to stick with them. It's such a mental position. So, to be, and I've seen in some big Division I games, a goalie having a great day, and just because they split them, they pull. And they put the other goalie in, and then it's kind of like it's a pressure situation on that goalie that's going in, and then you kind of get in the other goalie's head. So again, the way we do it here is that, there's one goalie who has that start, and that doesn't mean that if they're not having a day that other goalie gets an opportunity. Sometimes we may stick with that, starting goalie to give them that opportunity. But again, that's the way we do it here. But there is definitely schools that I've seen in humongous games that their way is to split. So that first goalie gets the first half, and that second goalie gets the second half.
But that's a tough one. We struggle with, she's having a tough day, do we pull her? Even in that. And then we sit there and say, she's going to make the next save. Let's just stay with her. She's going to make the next save. And she doesn't make that save. Then we say, she's going to make the next save. You're waiting, you're holding out hope. And then she makes a big save and you go, all right, she rewarded our confidence. You know what I mean? But it's a tough decision. It's a really tough decision. It's much easier for me to pull an attacker off the field because she's having a tough day and talk to her and figure it out and say, take 10 minutes and we'll get you back in there, than it is to do that with a goalie. It's such a different situation. Yes?
Other than goalie, is there a position that you value more highly than others?
The draw is important. The draw is important. I think, you know, really strong two-way middies. We've kind of changed our recruiting philosophy a little bit over the last year or so. That we probably can turn a midi into almost anything, right. But it's tough to turn a defender or an attacker into a midi. So we're looking for Luke to become more athletic. I think, you know, a ridiculous athlete, you can figure out how you can maximize her ability and how you can bring her along. But the draw is important. If you got someone who's great on the draw, you can also be great on the draw in high school, and college is different. You know, there's different situations. But I think athletes in the middle of the field.
It's going to depend year to year too with what we graduate.
Sure.
So if we have a heavy attacking class or defending class, something like that. So
you try to go sometimes based on your needs.
Putting yourself in the best position would be to be open-minded. Don't I've coached travel teams and things like that where girls at a young age come up to me and say they're a defender. No, you're not. You don't know what you are yet. You got to give yourself. We have a defender on our team right now who actually was a defender her freshman year, and then was a starting attacker on the left-hand side for us because we said, try it. You have great hands. She played all year because that's where we needed her. Next year, back down on the defense. Every year she was a starter. Started on the defense, started on the attack, and never once was a midi. But she did everything because she was open-minded. So being open-minded is a huge thing, especially at your age. Don't be so, I don't want to run. You never know. Give it a try. Because now, especially with the game and the pace of the game getting faster in the high school and at the college level, you may be needed to run through the box, and having a little bit of speed or a little bit of, athleticism or ability to do that will help you.
If the coach wants to put you on the field and is asking you to run or play midfield, and you say no, don't expect them to ask again. Okay? Because they're not going to beg you to play. I had a club team and I used to coach, and I had two girls that came to the team. I didn't know them very well. And I didn't know what they were going to be, but I knew what we already had. So we're at a tournament, and I said to the one girl, I said, I need you to run some midfield. I don't run midfield. Okay. Went to the other girl, I said, I need you to run midfield. I'll do whatever you want. Her name's Kaylee Broderick. She's a starting defender for us. She's great. Okay? She came and got coached her all through club. All she did was what we asked. Come here. One of the toughest kids we have, having a great year. You'll see her today. She's terrific. She won me over because she just wanted to play. And the other girl kind of had demands. Coaches don't like demands. Yes?
If you were able to get all of the Long Island travel directors in a room, what would be your one thing you'd like to see change with youth lacrosse that would help the girls be better prepared?
That's a deep one. It's a good question, though.
Listening, Jerry?
I think the main thing is to not focus on winning games. I think the thing is to focus on player development. I think that's really what it comes down to. Obviously we know who the top teams are, just by reputation. But and people say this on the guy side all the time. A college coach doesn't go to a tournament and care about the score of the game and what your record is. I know I don't. You could be on a bad team, but you could be a great player, and we'll figure it out. So that's my piece of it. I think it's to focus more on skill development. I think it's to make sure kids are enjoying themselves, because the burnout factor, because of the pressure that's put on by everybody in these kids' lives, I think, is troubling. I want kids to feel good about it. I played until I was almost 40 years old because I loved it, and no one ever told me I had to do it, and it was one of the greatest things of my life. If I grew up today playing, I don't know how much I'd play after college. There are kids who run from the game after college because of the pressure and the workload that's put on them to that point. Like, they want to get out. This game should not do that to you. Game, it's a game, right? It should be fun, right? Every year, Frankie brings a group of girls up to Lake Placid. I go up with my guys to Lake Placid. We go play, we watch other people play, we have a great time because we love it. I hope that when it's all over for you, you have the same feeling. It's just really hard today. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I go off of that same thing. I think that kind of touches on it for sure.
Yeah.
Besides the game today, what is your players' pre-game agenda?
Oh, God. They have a dance party like before every game. Okay? So, and I don't know, I just sit there and shake my head. You know, they get here usually about 2 hours before, a little bit more sometimes. It'll depend. If it's someone's birthday, the locker room gets decorated happy birthday. If they hate the other team, it's decorated kill them. If it's, you know, who knows what the event is. But you'll start to hear the building shake a little bit, and everything starts going, and we'll walk in the locker room, the lights are off, and there's like strobe lights flashing, and then you know, they're all sweating, and their makeup is running, and it's like, what are we doing here? Who here wears mascara for the game? Anyone? See? You can play here. But
What do you ask of them? Let me ask it differently.
What do we ask of them?
Yeah, what do you ask of them?
We ask of them to be ready when the whistle blows. And we believe this because everyone's different. So we want them to be here a certain amount of time before game time. We want them to be ready. We usually go in, you know, the clock will start running at 60 minutes, so we'll know when we need to be out there in order to get our warm-up in. We'll go in usually, you know, 5 of. If we play at 1, we'll go in at 5 of 12. We'll talk to them for a little bit, depending on what it is the message is. We get out and we warm up. You know, honestly, it's one of the things we struggle with because every team's different, every day's different, every game is different, and we're struggling with how to get out of the gate this year. We really are. We're struggling with how to get out of the gate, how to play fast early, and it's one of the things we're still working to get the answers on. So if you have any, please, let me know. Yes?
What advice do you have for parents that, besides, you know, being positive and, you know, cheering for the kids and having fun, what advice do you have for us that we're going to be in this journey for the next, you know, 6-7 years with them?
Go on an extended vacation. No, I just think enjoy it. I know it sounds very simple, but I would say, again, be self-aware, be honest about who your kid is and what they are as a player. I say all the time, there's a difference between a lacrosse player and a girl who plays lacrosse. Okay? People don't like hearing that, but there are kids, you just look at and go, that's a lacrosse player. She's all about that. This is her thing. She lives and dies with it. And then there are girls who play lacrosse. They're very good. They love it. But there are so many other things in their lives that are important to them. And they love the game, but it's not who they are. They can still play in college. They can still be really good players. But there's a difference between those two people. Okay? There's a big difference between those two people. And you got to recognize that. The other thing is I would, you know, ask all the questions, gather as much information as you possibly can to make an educated decision. You know what I mean? Don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything you read. They don't know anything. He's usually a moron. She's not as smart as she says. Everybody's doing this. They all do that. None of that means anything. It's what's best for you And for parents, it's what's best for your child. Not best for your lacrosse player, what's best for your child. We all want them to be great. We all want them to have success. We want them to be a star and all that. But if that's our only identifier for their value, and it's the only identifier for you for your value, we're going down a dangerous road. So I would say focus on the academic part of it. You know, pay attention to what's going on. Finding the right place is really what it's about.
I think something we say to everybody who comes in is go see different places. Take them to different schools. So my personal experience, I was very late in the recruiting process, very, very, very late. I played on a great travel team. Everyone was going all these places and I was kind of overlooked. And all I had my mind set on, just like everybody in this room, was to go a big Division I school. So I was getting recruited at a time when Florida just started their program, and probably 6 girls on my top Yellow Jacket team were going to Florida. And I was, like I said, I was a goalie and I was being totally overlooked, and I wanted big and I wanted far and I wanted warm. And then I came to Adelphi. And I sat down with the coach then, put a vision in my head. It was Division II, it was small, it was 25 minutes with traffic from my house. It was not what I wanted at all, and it's where I ended up. And I, couldn't have been happier with that decision, and I had opportunities after that. But again, it was totally not what I thought I wanted as a sophomore, junior. And then my mom, said, let's go there. Go check it out. Just go sit down, give it an opportunity. And again, just go and see places, sit down with different coaches and get on different campuses, because you never know when you walk on a campus and you're like, okay, this isn't so bad. This is kind of, great too. So definitely, if you go to a place and they give you an offer you can't turn down, again, we've had kids come to us and parents have said, we went to one school when she was a freshman and now she's a junior and she wants to transfer. But she went to one school and they gave her a great offer, and the locker room was cool and the strength and conditioning, weight room was amazing. But again, that's not what it's all about. So go see. If you want big, check out some small. If you want far, check out some close. And really, get there and see it and meet the team. Meeting the girls on the team could be a great thing for you. Ask to go get lunch with them if you can. We tell our girls, if you want to, hang out with the team for a little bit, because that's where you can kind of be candid, ask questions that you may not be comfortable asking the coaches.
When we do this, we usually do this in a prospect day setting, so it would be kids on the field, they come in here. We have a panel of our players here, and you can ask those questions of them. That's really good information, because they live it every day. So it's hard. If you have a person who's through the club or through your high school or someone who's somewhere, and you want to take a ride and go visit, try to hook up with them and have them show you around and give you the ins and outs of the school. One of the best things I did for my daughter was I had a kid I trained who was at Loyola, and I reached out to him. I said, listen, I'm taking a ride. I'm going to bring my daughter. Can you walk us around? Spend 2 hours with us, just walking us around and showing us the school and talking about it from a non-lacrosse point of view. And then he introduced us to a girl on the lacrosse team. We met her. We talked to her. It was great. It was a great experience. But prospect days are really good that way because you can interact with people, and you can see how the coaches, how the dynamic is with them and the players. There's things that can be helpful in that setting too.
Yeah, one over there.
Sorry. Yes.
What do you look for in a player's character?
Well, toughness is really important. We look at their academics. We watch them on the field. Some people asked earlier about body language and how they interact with teammates. We ask a lot of questions. We have a lot of people out there who we have confidence in, who will kind of give us a report on a kid. So we might get contacted by a kid, we'll go watch her, we'll like her, and we'll know her club coach, and we'll reach out with someone who's in the program. What's the story on this person? And they'll give us the rundown. And they know to be honest with us. Okay, as much as somebody like Jerry wants to help you, he's got to help the person after you. And he's got to have that coach answer the phone the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time. So he's got to be honest. West Islip High School. Anybody from West Islip here? If Joe Nicolosi calls, we talk, he tells us about a kid, we believe. He's been good to us. He's delivered some terrific kids here. Okay? There's other coaches out there. You know, Rachel Ray at Long Beach. She knows. She's an alum. She was a great player here. So she might call us about one of her own, or she might call us about someone she played against. But when Rachel says, because we know she's invested in the program, we know she cares about what happens here, she comes to everything we do. She's a great alum. She's invested. She knows, like, hey, let me send the next kid there who's going to be great. But your coaches have to be honest, because if Jerry lies to me and says, hey, this kid's terrific, she's a great kid, the parents are great, this, that, and you come and we buy it, and you're a collective nightmare, Jerry Caramel, he ain't taking that one. You know what I mean? You just can't do it. He's got to have credibility to help you and everybody else. You've got to be fair to him. That's really what it comes down to. Character is really important, and we look for input from people who have experience with kids that we don't have. You know, we know a lot of people. We might know people who teach in your building. I reach out to your guidance counselor, somebody we know, and say, hey, listen, what's the story with this kid? Oh, great kid, great family, trust me. Okay. If they are our friends, they're going to tell us the truth. Well, they're not our friends anymore. Yes?
This is kind of random, but what's your personal opinion about girls switching from eye gear to the helmets?
It's a good question, actually. What is my opinion on the helmets? I think there are situations where the helmets are necessary. When young people have concussion problems and there's a situation where you have to take care of yourself, I think it's really something you should do. Okay? Because there's a lot more beyond lacrosse. And if you really want to play, and wearing a helmet is going to protect you when you experience the concussion for whatever the reasons. Because it could be basketball where you got the concussion or something happened to you. Overall, I'm not a big fan of the helmets because I think it's something that when you start to become more and more equipped, I think people become less responsible with their sticks. And I think you're going to see more stick swinging. I think one of the things that amazes me about women lacrosse players is how controlled they are with their sticks and how respectful they are of their opponents, even if they hate them. Okay? So the stick work is controlled. People make mistakes. There's always an instance here or there where someone's irresponsible. But I think women's lacrosse in general is amazing in that people are able to go out there and play really hard, compete like crazy, you know, not like each other, but be responsible with their sticks and be respectful of the person they're playing against as far as putting them in harm's way. So that's the thing I say. And you saw it, I believe at least, you see it in hockey. When we were young, at least I was, guys didn't wear helmets, guys didn't have visors on, and people's sticks rarely came above their waist in a hockey game. Once guys started wearing helmets and visors, all of a sudden the sticks came up a little bit more. There's a little more feeling of freedom, and what's the difference? He's got a helmet on. So I could be wrong, that's just my personal opinion.
Before we wrap up, so you're a 17, 18-year-old kid. What was the deciding factor for you to play Syracuse?
My life was a little different. I can tell you my story. I'll do it as quickly as I can, and hopefully I don't cry. My father died. I was a senior in high school, and I could have gone to Maryland, Hopkins, Syracuse, St. John's. I could have come here, and I didn't want to do anything. So I was uneducated, without much guidance. By the time I figured it out, I reached out to Maryland. They said, sorry, we don't have any room. I reached out to Hopkins. They said, if you go to junior college, maybe we can pick you up in a year or two. And I got a letter from Roy Simmons Jr. saying, I heard what happened. I feel real bad about it. I hope you're okay. But you should go to college. If you change your mind, call me. They reached out to my friend Matt Panetta, who went to Hopkins. They asked him, what's Pat doing? He said, I don't know if he's doing anything. You should reach out to him. They called me. My athletic director and my high school coach both went to Syracuse. and I was afraid of them both. And this is gonna sound terrible, but in that point in my life, I didn't go to school a lot. So I went to practice one day, and I was told, Mr. Salsi and Mr. Salerno want to see you upstairs. That was usually not like they were going to give you a trophy. So I went upstairs, fairly scared, wondering like the list of things I had done wrong, and what did they know about. There was a couch in front of the desk, there was a desk here, and there was a chair there. Walk in, Salsi's in the chair, Salerno's here, sit down. Back then, ladies, they would hit you. Okay? I got smacked a few times. Sat down, I said, what are you doing? What do you mean? You want to go to Syracuse? I figured the answer was yes, because that's what was going to get me out of the meeting. He said, yeah. Okay. Jack Salerno dialed the phone. This is called Cindy Slugger. He said, Slugger, I got Pat McCabe sitting here. He wants to come to Syracuse. What are we doing? I said, put him on the phone. Hey, coach, how you doing? How you doing? Back and forth. You want to come? Yes. Okay. That was it. I went to Syracuse. Where's him to save my life?
You don't want me saying, I don't think you guys realize how humble this man is. If you go to Syracuse and you visit there, you're going to see his name everywhere. That's just a fact. It's important you guys know that. At some point.
That's my story. And one of the reasons I go to Lake Placid every year is because it's his birthday. I think this year's 83. So, I love the game. I hope you do. I hope you have the feelings that we have towards the game. I hope it can give you, selfishly, the rewards that we've had. And I hope you can look back on your experience as fondly as we do, because that will mean you make good decisions. That will mean you followed a path that was good for you. Okay? Again, look in the mirror, be self-aware, be honest, okay? And understand who you are. And don't ever undervalue yourself. Because you're gonna go through days and weeks and periods where it's gonna be a struggle. They don't want me, I'm not good enough, this is what I want and I can't have it. It doesn't define you. It's the long road. It's the big picture. Okay? That's it for me. I thank you very much for coming.